Hey, welcome back guys, JC here. Today I want to talk about battery charging. I know this seems like a very simple thing to do, but it's actually not. It is, with your cell phone, you just plug in your charger and it just does its thing and it just works. But with these batteries, there's a lot of things that you can screw up, a lot of things that can go wrong. They can explode and they can injure you, both of which has happened to me. I've actually had these batteries blow up in my hand before. So whether this is your first day in this hobby or even if you've been around for a while, you still may learn something new. I'm going to start at the bottom and at the very basics and work our way up. So hopefully I will cover everything and you learn something new. And it's not just safety stuff. It's also, I'm going to be giving tips on how to make your batteries last longer, which equates to saving money. And I love saving money. Alright, so starting at the bottom. The batteries we use for the multirotors are lithium polymer batteries. Abbreviated is Li-PO. Other types of batteries we use are sometimes you will see lithium ion and sometimes you'll see NiCad, but mostly that's just something you use in your charger. The lithium ion, I use these for when I make my own 2-cell Fat Shark power packs, but it's rare to see it. Almost everything we use is lithium polymer. A fully discharged lithium polymer battery is going to be 3 volts per cell. Fully charged is 4.2 volts per cell. Then multiply that by the cell count of the battery. The most common are going to be 3-cell and 4-cell, but you do see down to 1 cell and up to 6 cell. You can tell how many cells a battery has because for one, it's written on it. I don't know if you can see that, but this is a 3-cell. You could also count the number of cells. So that's 3. This one would be a 4-cell. Why do 4-cell batteries have more voltage than a 3-cell or 2 or 1? Because the batteries are connected in a series circuit, meaning that the positive or the negative of one battery is connected to the positive of the next, and then that negative is connected to the positive of the next. That way the voltage is going to increase per cell. So for all lithium polymer batteries, fully charged is 4.2 volts per cell. Then you multiply that by 3. Fully charged 3S will be, 12.6 volts. A fully charged 4S would be 16.8. Just like fully discharged 3S would be 9 volts, fully discharged 4S would be 12 volts. Now, I do not recommend to stop flying at 3 volts per cell, or 9 volts or 12 volts. Depending on what cell. Actually stop flying around 3.5 to 3.8 volts per cell. That gives you a little bit of time to actually safely land and still not come close to over discharging it, because if you over discharge these batteries, that will kill the lifespan of the battery, and that's where the money saving comes in. And there's a lot of other things that you can do that will kill the lifespan of the battery. So over discharging is one. And I want to talk about how to recover the battery once it's over discharged, because a lot of these chargers, they have a safety feature set up to where if the battery is over discharged, the charger will not charge it. It's saying, nope, I'm not doing it, it's unsafe, where there is a workaround. I'll talk about that later. So on your battery charger, you may notice many different functions. I can't see right now, but you basically have charge, discharge, balance, storage charge, and maybe a few others depending on the battery charger you have. Charge is self-explanatory, discharge is self-explanatory. Storage charge, this is another money-saving tip. Once you are done flying for the day, I always storage charge my batteries, whether the batteries are discharged or if I even charge batteries but did not use them and they are still fully charged, I still storage charge those. That's going to put the voltage right in the middle, and that's where you want your batteries setting whenever you are not using them. Now if I still have fully charged batteries, and I'm going to fly the next day, yeah, I'll just leave them charged. I'm not going to bother. But any more than a day or two, I just go ahead and storage charge them. The balance setting is going to leave the voltage of the battery right where it's at, but it's going to balance all the different cells to make sure they are all at the same exact voltage. And that's pretty much it. You have fast charge, but fast charge, it's instead of putting every little, it's hard to explain. Charge takes longer because it puts every little bit into the battery, where fast charge, it just quickly gets it to 4.2 volts per cell and then calls it a day. It's not going to keep trying to put more and more in. Okay, now how do you connect the batteries to charge it? This is where some of the safety stuff comes in, as well as some more money saving tips. You have a main lead and you have a balance lead on the batteries. You just plug the main lead in and then you plug the balance lead in. And there's a reason I say it in that order. If you're just doing one battery, it doesn't matter so much. If you're doing multiple batteries, there's a good reason for that. Why do we have two different leads? The battery charger is going to put the majority of the current through the main battery lead because the wires are thicker, it can handle more current. But your cells don't always charge at exactly the same rate, so that's where the balance lead comes in. Your battery charger can actually, if one cell is falling behind the rest, it will actually give that one cell a little bit more juice to make it catch up to the rest. And if the highest cell, it's just not going to do anything for that guy. So that way the rest can catch up. That way they're all charging at the same rate. And once it's done charging, they will all be exactly the same voltage. As far as what amount of current to set your battery charger to when you charge these, you have to understand C ratings. So let's just say I want to charge this 1800 milliamp an hour LiPo. If I want to charge this at a 1C rating, I would charge it at 1.8 amps. Now if you look on the websites for different batteries, you might see where it says it can charge up to a 4C rating, 5C, 6C rating. Basically, if you charge a battery, if it's fully discharged at 3 volts per cell, and you charge it at a 1C rating, which this would be 1.8 amps, theoretically that would take 1 hour to charge this battery. But if you want to charge it faster, you can increase the amount of current going to the battery. So say we want to charge it at a 2C rating. It would take 1.8 times 2, which would be 3.6 amps. I could charge this at 3.6 amps, and instead of taking an hour, it would take 30 minutes. And then you can keep doing the math. If you charge this at a 5C rating, it would only take like, 12 minutes or something like that. But here's the thing, the faster you charge a battery, you're killing the lifespan of it. Just like if you over-discharge a battery, that kills the lifespan. Charging these too fast will kill the lifespan. I always charge my batteries at a 1C rating. If I know I'm going to be flying later that day or the next day, I will go ahead and charge all my batteries at a 1C rating because I really like making them last as long as possible. And I don't care what kind of hurry I'm in, I never charge past a 1C rating, ever. And you can, it's not unsafe. There's nothing unsafe about it. It's just the whole lifespan thing that gets to me. Okay, now, what about charging multiple batteries at the same time using the parallel balance board or parallel charging board? Let's use a different battery just to keep the math simple. I've got a 1000 milliamp an hour 3 cell right here. So say I have 6 of these and I want to charge all 6 at the same time on the balance board. Like I said, plug the main lead in first and then the balance lead on all 6. And for the current, if you want to charge all 6 of them at a 1C rating, then that would be 1000 times 6, so 6 amps. As far as the safety part of it, you do not want to connect batteries into the parallel balance board if the cell voltages are more than 0.2 volts or more away from each other. So say I've got one that's discharged to 3 volts per cell. So for a 3S, that would be 9 volts. Then I've got another one just like this that I want that's kind of charged. It's like halfway discharged. Say it's at 3.3 volts per cell, which would be a total of 9.9 volts. You would not want to plug both of these in to the balance board. You would want to charge the lower one up enough to where the cells are within 0.2 volts away from the next battery. The reason for this is because if you plug this into your balance board and then you plug this into your balance board, what happens is the batteries are all connected to one another, so the voltages are going to try to even out, and they're not going to try, they will even out. The more discharged one, the voltage is going to come up, and then the higher one is going to come down. Well, if the voltages are more than 0.2 volts away from each other per cell, it's going to go even faster. The faster current flows through batteries, that creates heat, and that is what can blow up a battery, and that is what blew up a battery in my hand. I wasn't even thinking, I didn't even check your cell voltages with a little meter. I have a ton of these things laying around, and before I put anything on a balance board, I always check. It's going to tell you your total voltage, then the individual cell voltage for every single cell. Definitely get something like this. They're only a couple bucks, because I took a fully charged battery and a fully discharged battery, plugged them both into the balance board, and it blew up. The discharged one blew up in my hand because I was just lazy and in a rush. Now for that last example, those batteries were 0.3 volts away from one another. Yeah, I mean, you can get away with that. It's not going to blow up, but it's still going to hurt the battery, and that will also kill the lifespan of the battery from the voltages changing so quickly. Because you've got one that's charging really fast and one that's discharging really fast. So that's actually worse than charging your batteries at like a 3 or 4C rating. It's actually much higher than that if you crunch the numbers and do the math. You're probably talking about charging and discharging at like a 15C rating for a split second. Now with all that explained, that is why I say plug in all 6 main leads first and then all 6 balance leads. Because if they are more than 0.2 volts away from one another, whenever those voltages level out with one another, all the current is flowing through the thicker wires. If you were to plug in the thin wires first and then they try to level out, because the wires are so small, they can't handle that amount of current, and they will overheat and fry and melt in half. Okay, now, what if you want to charge different kinds of batteries, different sizes? So for this example, say I've got this big old 5100 milliamp an hour battery. Then I also want to charge this 1800, and I also want to charge this 850. I want to charge all 3 of these. They're not the same size, and that is perfectly fine as long as they are the same cell count. All 3 of these are 4-cell batteries, so you can totally do that. All you would do is just take the numbers and add them up. So we've got 5.1 amps, then this would be 4.9, and then 5.7. I think my math's right. I'm doing this. I suck at math, doing it in my head, but yeah, like 5 point something amps. And that would be a 1C charge for all 3 of these batteries. What you cannot do is take a 4S and a 3S, and so if we did the math, we're talking 2.2 amps and 1.3 amps, so that would be 3.5 amps, or yeah, 3.5. I can't set this to 3.5 and try to charge it because we've got a 3S and a 4S, not going to work. How do you recover an over-discharged battery? Because like I said, a lot of these chargers have that safety feature to where it will not allow you to charge an over-discharged battery. Well, hopefully your battery charger has the NICAD setting, which is NICD. Just plug in the main lead. Don't even worry about the balance lead. Just plug in the main lead and set the NICAD setting to as low as it will go. We're talking like 0.1 amps. And it's going to take forever, but leave it on 0.1 amps and just let it charge up to when the cells are about, it depends on your battery charger. Some battery chargers will say I will not charge battery at 2.5 volts per cell, but I will charge at 2.6 volts per cell. And every battery charger is going to be different. I don't even know what my minimum limit is on mine. So what I do is I've been charging mine to like 2.8 volts per cell on the NICAD setting at 0.1 amps. And after that, then you can switch to the LiPo setting. But once you switch to the LiPo setting, you don't want to set this to a 1C rating. So I wouldn't set this to 1 amp. You still want to set this low. Like I will bump it up to 0.2 amps. And I will just let it stay on 0.2 amps until it is fully charged. And it might take all day, but I don't care. It's better to be safe than sorry. Not only that, but if you do charge an over-discharged battery, say you start at 2.8 volts per cell, if you were to charge it at a 1C rating, that will you've already severely hurt the lifespan of the battery, but you will hurt it even more if you continue charging at a 1C rating from that such a low voltage. So go ahead and charge it at like 0.2 amps, but you get the idea. Charge low, all the way to where it's fully charged. After you have fully charged it and then you use the battery again, then yes, you can charge at a 1C rating. It's not like a permanent thing. I'm just saying for that one time, charge low. I get asked all the time, I've used one of these cell checkers and determined that I do have a bad cell. It's showing 0 volts where the rest of my cells are good. Can I take the battery apart, unsolder that one cell, and take another battery that also has a dead cell and then combine the cells to make one good battery? For safety's sake, I'm going to say no. Have I done this? I'm not going to answer that. But one thing to consider is the age of the battery and how many times you've used it. Obviously, you don't want to. You have one damaged battery that you've had for like 6 months, and then you have another damaged battery you've only had for 2 weeks. You don't want to do that because the age differences are different. The amount of resistance per cell is going to be different. A lot of variables go into it. So I'm going to say no, don't do it. Just buy a new battery. And that leads me to my next point. LiPo bags, like fireproof LiPo bags. They actually make bags, and I don't recommend charging batteries inside of your house because everything is flammable. I would recommend doing it outside, or if you are going to do it inside of a garage with a concrete floor. And even then, still use a LiPo bag. It's like a silver bag, and you put all of your batteries inside of it, and if any, most of them zip up. If not, they at least have Velcro. So if any of your batteries explode, it's going to be inside that fireproof bag. It sounds dumb, but the way I see it, I will go through the hassle of putting all my batteries inside of a bag instead of risking the chance of burning my entire apartment complex down, or house if I had a house. Your best bet is just charging outside, but make sure it's not going to rain or anything like that. And that's another reason why I like this battery charger. I can put this outside on my concrete patio, and actually have a Wi-Fi module inside of this, and it's linked to my phone, so I could just be sitting in here watching TV, and my phone gives me a little alarm once my batteries are done charging. And that's pretty much going to do it, guys. So sorry for a long video. It's a lot of stuff that I wanted to cover, a lot of safety stuff. And it's definitely stuff that I wanted the information to get out there. I know there's a lot of other videos just like this one, but here's my version of it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around soon.